Welcome to Metaverse Degen. I'm Lion.
I'm Old Man Raptor, and we got one hell of a guest, and that is
Merlz, your local honey stealer. I'm stealing your honey, but the literal honey jar. Hi.
Hello, Merlz. I think last time we talked, it was 2023. I think it was. It was a long time ago. How have you been, by the way? What have you been up to? It's been a hot minute. Last I checked, you were like just getting into the DJ scene, I think, or something of that nature.
Oh god, yeah, it's been a hot minute. When did we talk? I think it was March 2023, if I remember correctly. And it was like 2 a.m. my time, so I wasn't there at all. So I just kind of kept yapping without knowing what I was really saying. I don't know. I was a bit tired there, but I'm in full swing. I'm still here, and it's been about 1.5 years, and a lot has changed in the meantime. What's up?
Oh, so let's know what have you been up to? What did you since we last talked? What have you been doing? I saw you did a collab stuff with a bunch of people. You are over at in Muzz's club. You did a whole bunch of real life stuff. You're in Subsystem. Like, what happened? There's been a lot.
Okay. Oh god, you mentioned a bunch of stuff. Where to start? Back when you last interviewed me, I think the state of things must have been, if I remember correctly, that I had my own place called Hive Mind.
Yep.
Which is kind of how things started. I started DJing, and I used Hive Mind as my little outlet to have other DJs on and just enjoy myself a little bit, and have my own events. And I joined Subsystem at around November 2022 or October, I guess, somewhere around that time. And it wasn't me doing a whole lot. So I joined as artist relation. They pinged on their Discord server, and I was fresh into the scene, and I think I just got one of their slots to play for one of their events. And when I got that ping, I was like, okay, artist relation, that sounds kind of interesting. I want to give that a shot, but I don't really know if it's free, because I'm not sure if that, like, because what is artist relation anyway? Whatever. So I messaged one of the owners, and I'm like, hey, so I see you've got this position open. I'd be interested, but I'm not sure about it. Mind if we do like a little trial period of sorts? And so that's what I did. I hopped on. I did a little. I kind of just tried myself out, saw how things went, and the task at hand at the time was that for Subsystem, which runs the venue's HARDERBOX and server room, HARDERBOX being the one that we're sitting in right now. The task at hand was just, okay, so we've got this ticket system and people are applying to play for your club. How do they do that? They tell you, hey, I want to play for one of those two venues or both of your venues, and here's my application mix or my application mixes. And then I would listen to them and just kind of be the judge if it's like what we're looking for, if it reaches our standard of quality, or even if it's just like the type of sound we're looking for. And I ended up being the person like looking out for that and giving people feedback and getting them on our roster. As soon as that would happen, though, I would just hand them a DJ role on our Discord server and say, all right, so here's your DJ role. You now have access to the DJ chat, and also you're now able to pick slots within this spreadsheet. So you're basically booking yourself, and the only thing we're really doing is putting up the dates of events, and then DJs manage themselves. That kind of worked for the time being. But Subsystem would crystallize to be a pretty ambitious venue in what they were doing. And so we had a flood of DJs that always wanted to play, and that would change over time. Like, we had more and more DJs playing or wanting to play. The problem being that whenever we opened up slots, which would come in waves, like we would have, okay, check this out. We've got like 2 or 3 or 4 upcoming events now. People will snag them as soon as they could. The ones that were able to stalk the spreadsheet or react fast, that is. And some artists are busy, and so those would just kind of get the tail end of it. So it wasn't for long until I like proposed that we would have to change that. We can't run on the spreadsheet system for longer, because it's not really fair. Because that ping for the DJ role saying, hey, we've got new events coming up, will always come at more European friendly times, for example, which already kind of excludes other time zones. And also, what we noticed was that it would be a lot of the same few people that would sign up, probably because they have a not so like an office job and they're able to hop in, or maybe whatever their life circumstances made it possible to check Discord on a frequent basis or check the spreadsheet on a frequent basis and snag those slots. So at some point, I kind of made it my task to get rid of that spreadsheet. I sort of campaigned for it within the team as somebody that was more of a at the time, and this is March that we're talking. This is exactly the time you had me interviewed. This was where I was like sort of campaigning inside the team, like, hey, can we please get rid of that spreadsheet? It's really annoying seeing the same faces all the time, and I'm pretty sure that's kind of exclusionary as well. And also, it comes with like the caveat of how do I say this? Sometimes we like, well, our DJs are good. They are in general. VR brings up a lot of talented, great DJs. But the problem would be that they wouldn't exactly find a good progression throughout the night. So some person in here would start out with some 200 BPM extra speed tempo terrorcore type, like face melting type stuff. And that would be a pretty solid set in its own right. And then the next person would be doing like 150 BPM, euphoric, raw style, melodic, not too many, whatever, too intense things. And those would just clash because the energy was raised so high and then would drip down again. And you could tell in the lobby numbers and the way people reacted that this just didn't sit right. People would lose their energy, something would feel off, and then people would just go somewhere else. And that's something that I didn't like at all. I like me when things are a bit more curated and because like that hardstyle set or same thing with server room. Somebody's like playing a intense bassline or speed house type set, and then the next person plays more like minimal techno or minimal house, something that's more progressive in nature. Those people would get the tail end of the previous person. They would either up it even more or match the energy in some sort of way, or they would get a really demotivated crowd. And that just didn't sit right with me because like the art, it's just not a cool situation to be in, and I feel like it's not right. So what I figured is I managed afterwards after the interview to convince the team that we're going for a more curated approach. We're closing down the spreadsheet. We're just doing the bookings that are still listed in there. But after that, it's going to be me or whoever else takes up on that role to approach DJs. So we are more proactive and we scout for new talent and we're looking to put them just into the right slot. And we see that as a win-win, if not win-win-win, because for us, we get to run our shows, which are a bit of an effort because we have like these lights going and that takes somebody operating them. We've got visuals in the background. That takes somebody operating the visuals. And all that stuff that's like happening around it. We have quite the team actively working on this. And so, of course, they want to see that event turn into a success, which means people showing up and enjoying it. That's what we're doing it for. That's what a show is, right? So, and also, me having that approach would mean that, okay, I could make sure that the person playing after the next person or whatever, that they knew what to expect from the other person, and I could communicate in between them and already book them in like an order that would make sense, that would work out. And oftentimes this would be like the classical upward progression. So you'd have the more chill or the more getting people to vibe kind of music. So, you know, you get a little bit of a hip hop out of it, and people starting to like slowly move to it, you know. That's just right. That's the enabler. And then you slowly raise the tempo over time. And you get this like frog and water boiling type effect where basically people don't even realize just how hard the music becomes, how much more intense it goes. Because they're slowly being brought there, and it makes for this like seamless musical experience in the end. And that is a win-win for the DJ, because a DJ that plays a killer set but just plays it at the wrong time, that's not happening anymore. That DJ gets to have just the right slot, and they get to know what sort of energy to expect. If they have a DJ playing before and after them, I can tell them, hey, so this is going to be about the vibe, this is going to be about the vibe. I'm not telling you exactly what to play, but you should probably do this genre, or in the realm of that genre, somewhere around that energy, and the people around you are doing this, and then I can guide them into it. Because it's cool leaving DJs like freedom to do what they want, but personally, I always felt I was even better when somebody curated the experience and told you, hey, so here's about the energy you can expect and what the crowd kind of wants in that moment. Oh, and if that's not what you want to do, I can find a better time for you, right?
Yeah.
So you would everybody would shine in the brightest light here, and it worked. It worked wonders. Because it made for this like seamless experience together with like everything else. People that usually wouldn't be into the most insane face-melting music would suddenly find themselves still sticking around for the last slot and realizing, okay, this is pretty intense now, but I've already been here for a minute, and this is like the last slot, whatever, okay. And people that aren't really into the more warm-up type music, they would still have something to look forward to because they would at some point know, oh, it's going to get more intense over time too. Initially, I thought this was going to be more of a subconscious thing. But over time, I had people reach out to me and say that they really liked how we approached it. Because like we don't communicate on the posters. I don't like putting genre names on posters because people have different understandings of what each genre means and like what what genre has what sort of sound, and it also locks in the artist a little much. So they would be how do I say this? They would find themselves like, oh, now I have to do exactly this and nothing else. But that's not what I want. I want to tell them, hey, this is the genre you could or should play, like roughly 80% of that. But you can also like branch out a bit, and I'll let you cook. Just this is probably what you want to go for. They can also say, okay, how about this? And then they can send me a song, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, this will probably work. It's basically me giving advice on what's going to resonate with the crowd at a given time, and that works really well.
Okay. Before we leave this
so we did that. It was a great success.
I have a question for
I'm sorry, yeah.
before. No, I just want to follow you along the path, but I'm going to ask questions along the way. So I apologize ahead of time, but I'm curious about one thing. How did your average audience react to the change from a free roam kind of style in the beginning to hand curated? Did the same people who attended the before still stick around for the new stuff? And how did people respond to the gradual uptick versus the free approach?
I think there were like one or two people, specifically on the DJ side of things, that didn't like it as much because then they weren't able to just put their name in or like decide very spontaneously if they wanted to play and just kind of be more in charge of it. But that being said, that's just the sacrifice that had to be made because the especially from the audience side of things and from every other artist, the response was overwhelmingly positive. Oh yeah, this is where I wanted to go because like I thought it was going to be more of a subconscious approach that people wouldn't really realize, but it just they weren't disturbed too much by like weird energy drops or hops. And no, people would actually notice. People would be at some point, and it's like over time that happened, people would be conditioned that the later they show up to HARDERBOX or server room, the more the more intense it would be, and the more energy that would be. And so people would roughly know at what time to show up and all that stuff. And that's great because now I can be ambiguous with genres. I don't need to write down genre posters. But people know, oh, so that person's going to open up HARDERBOX. Or that person's closing down HARDERBOX. And then they just know what to expect. That's something that not a lot of venues have with them, like going for themselves. And that is exactly what I wanted. And it worked even better than anticipated. And I already hoped for a lot. So here we are. And that's what I've done in the meantime. And not only that, I sort of rose up the ranks and kind of ended up in a management position over time. So nowadays I also delegate tasks. I make sure we have enough staff on the team. I sort of became more of a front-facing person of the place because I hop around, and if it hasn't been self-evident by now, I yap a lot. I do that in private too. So I talk a lot to people and I socialize. And so that's just kind of become what it is. I do a lot for subsystems. Sometimes you'll even see me do a light operation in here, or overall like hosting / security stuff, making sure that the crowd feels safe and that everyone's having a good time. I fill in a whole lot of slots, and I'm also doing a whole lot of top-down work now, and that just happened over time. So I think that's what it boils down to. One of the biggest changes in the meantime with me being here is I've already been here in subsystem, but from being one of like 20 or like I guess maybe 15 people back then, being like one of the more lower down people. I don't really have to be there. I'm just doing more of a side task and a help out, to basically being one of the absolute main people of the place within about 1.5 years. And it's been nothing but amazing, honestly. I love I love it here. It's yeah, and Hive Mind has taken a bit of a step back. It's not gone. It's taken a bit of a hiatus, but it's very, very likely coming back in January for some more less how to say this, sweaty, less uber ambitious type stuff, type events. But Subsystem at this point has like Hive Mind has gotten a bit of a back burner position. And Subsystem has become my full priority here, next to me just being an artist and DJ around here, which I still do a whole lot too. And yeah, that's my main thing with Subsystem for now.
Oh, wow. So how does it feel going from a position of someone who would attend to someone who would run? Have you viewed the venue and the club any differently from that, going through that journey from beginning to where you sit today?
Oh, I would have just not seen it coming at all. Like, not even in the slightest. It also took some harsh turns, I will say. So we had like a bunch of bumps here and there. There were some management changes, and at some point there just happened to be like a bit of I don't even want to say power vacuum, because it's not really about power; it's about getting stuff done. But some stuff happened, and we were just sitting there like, oh shit, stuff needs to get done now. And I was at some point so worked into organizing events just from my position that I had, and from all the stuff that I started taking upon myself, that I just took upon even more things. And I was like, okay, now we're doing this, now we're doing that. And at some point, I just naturally fell into this position of the person that's basically running the events. Together with Luke, by the way, I want to give that shout out right now. That person does not get enough credit, and he likes to be more in the background compared to me. But I feel like without him, this stuff wouldn't even run like at all. So shout out to Luke, who's also part of the management here, who barely ever shows up on public or like really shows himself much. But yeah, we're running this, and it's despite a couple hardships and bumps here and there, which they happen. It's a huge team. I mentioned earlier that it's like 15 members, or it was 15 members back when that happened. In the meantime, I think we went up to like 25 or something. And it's been quite the journey, because some people also like left and some new people joined, and we had to train them. But overall, the vibe inside the team has gotten really good. It feels like we're basically just one giant friend circle of people doing stuff, and we're doing some amazing stuff too, and we get a whole lot of praise for it as well. I always try to make sure to redirect it to the team as well. Like literally, I'm just 1 out of 25 people here. But it's crazy that we managed to get this momentum going. And if you were to try to like just stomp a subsystem out of the ground as it is right now, it wouldn't happen. And so I feel like this is also where some of that commitment comes from, of everyone that's involved right now. The ball's already rolling, so we keep it up, and it's beautiful. This is exactly what I wanted to do, like starting from my childhood. I've always had this ambition of, like whenever I would see stage elements, like whenever tiny Merlz would see like cool stages being built, or like cool sound systems and all these like fixtures and all that stuff, I'd be blown away. Oh, how does this work? Damn, there's a microphone. Blah, 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 blah. Like I'd be so into it. It's so stupid, but I feel like in here I'm sort of living like a bit of a childhood dream, being able to do all of this, and so now I would have never seen it coming, and it's been a wild ride, and it's not always been an easy ride. I can tell you that much. It's rough if you want to run something as ambitious as this. By any means, I feel like it's quite the how to say this, quite the wonder, I guess, that this place is still around. It's a miracle is the word that I'm looking for. It's quite the miracle that this place even still exists and is running as well as it does. But here it is, and it's I'm nothing but grateful that it is. It's so cool that I'm getting. Yeah.
You know, I think it's actually really dope that Subsystem's still going. I remember earlier on in my VRChat career, I went to join a friend, and he was here in Subsystem, and I thought this whole place was mind-blowing at the time. And then thinking back to how things looked and felt at the time to now, it feels like a very different place, and it honestly, it's like seeing something grow. I've never been in a whole lot. I'll say that much. I'm not a regular attendee of club events, but I do. One of the few places I remember from that time was Subsystem.
Damn. Thanks for still sticking around. Yeah, we are, and like I said, by any means, there were moments where like, but this place could have fallen apart. There were multiple of those, and they were lights. But we managed to get through of it, and despite all the hardships, which just they are a given if you're doing something like this, we're still here, and it's amazing. And I will give some shout outs, by the way. There are some people that have just that are absolutely like responsible for this. Like we've got there are some people that I feel like don't want. I'm not sure if they even want to be them, because some people like to be more in the background, and that's cool. Like that's why management exists. But like just I can quickly shout out like Marco and Sky for killing it on the lighting department, who like they've been running on it so much. People like Luke, I just shouted him out. He's also doing visuals a whole lot. Same with Penny. Penny's doing a whole lot of visuals in the background many times. We've got some really good hosts like Passy, Kampfmücke, Kex whenever he does have the time to actually help. And it like a whole lot of oh god, I'm probably gonna get into hot water if I forget people. But now we have a whole lot of people in here that, oh god, Alslex and Alice. Yeah, Osix and LSD. Both of them have joined the mapping team recently, and they have been cooking with this map, like just giving it their nice little fine tuning. Like for example, initially we had the stage dead center here, and we had a different lighting system. We've been switching all of that up now. Also, like the background, like the back area over here would be a little bit bigger, and it would push people to the back over there. That was fine-tuned a little bit, so it's brought a bit to the forefront, and we now have a bit of a suit around place there, so the portal doesn't exactly flash out people when all the lights are low. And all in all, the whole place has just been revamped by those two, and especially Oslex, who's been sitting here for weeks, just like cracking his brain on trying to get the shaders fine-tuned just right. And I don't think he's even done by now. He's still like working on it, but. Like they've been killing it, and here we are. The place is looking as pretty as ever, if not prettier. And yeah, we've got good vibes all around. It's beautiful.
I want to give one compliment to the world. I remember some of the older versions of the world now, and one of the things that sticks out to me the most is how the lights react to the floor and the reflective surface, how it kind of bounces back and adds more of a makes things stand out a little more.
Yeah, that's what Oslex has been cooking on, especially in the recent months. Like in the past 2 to 3 months, he's been fine tuning the light system and the GI system a lot. And I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Like sometimes when I do my lights, I record the light signal that we feed into the video player. So we get the light show in here when I operate them. So the next day, or even like after the party, I will hop in here and play that signal back and just stare at the lights. You know, I always make jokes about like, oh yeah, Gen Z, you need an attention retainer. You need to put Subway Surfer gameplay in the corner to stay focused, right? Yeah, well, this is my Subway Surfer gameplay in the corner right here. This is what makes me like literally sit here for an hour and just stare at the lights like a muff. Like a muff.
Well,
yeah.
I remember you were showing us some of the light shows before, and the previous attempt before your headset kind of blew up.
Oh god, that's the story.
I remember how dope the box looked, and I think that's probably a really awesome thing for the world. And then there's the headset blowing up story, which kind of prevented the interview in the first place.
Let me do it. Where is it coming? There we go.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. No. Okay. No. The box is really cool. It's a standout feature, and it's actually inspired by like a visual loop by Beeple. You know, like those. Like those video loops that VJs use on the screens that people use to like underline music. Beeple is one of those visual artists, and he has a bunch of free video loops, and one of them is literally this box, like just lighting up in different ways. And we took inspiration from that, and this is how that box happened. And it's such a cool standout feature, because initially this space was called HARDERBOX because it's like your usual boxed venue. And then at some point we were like, why aren't we actually just making a box? You know, like a literal heart box. And here we go. There it is, the heart box. Yeah, it still sticks around. And about that blowing up headset story. So I'm gonna address the viewer now. What you guys don't know is that I tried to film this interview prior with those two goobers already, and I was sitting here. We were setting up everything. We were having a little talk beforehand, and I wasn't sure if like we were just making sure that everything worked. And so as we're talking and as we're setting everything up and we're about to start the interview, I suddenly would hear like a little crackling noise on my left ear. Like, what is this? Why does it sound? Why does it smell so funky? And I put off my headset, and the cable that was like inside the charging port of my headset, which I use a long cable to charge it. It's a Quest, or it was a Quest 2. Because here's the cracker. It literally melted as we were talking. The charging port melted, and it went up in smoke. And I was like pulling up the cable real fast, but it was too late. It was burned. Same with the cable. That one was gone. That was dealt with. And I put my headset back on. I'm like, guys, I think I can't do the interview. I'm in 40% battery, and I don't think this thing's gonna charge anymore.
I'm glad you're okay. Like, even though the headset cooked and the cord basically melted itself further down, I'm glad you're okay, because that could have been bad.
Yeah,
That could
very
have,
bad.
yeah.
But hey, Ryan, look on the bright side. He's electrified to stay with us as long as he could, and just enjoyed every bit of it, no matter how hot it got under the collar. In this case, it wasn't the collar that was hot; it was just the headset.
Quite the shocking experience indeed.
Yeah, just make sure, folks out there, be safe. Yeah, you know, it's headgear. Be careful, no matter what. Thank God he's still here with us, so we can do this second interview, because. Wow.
That's why I'm also scared of putting batteries on my body. Like, that's why I don't have straps plus. There's already so many batteries on my body. I'm not okay. This is. I'm not gonna say it's a bad product. This is my irrational fear, but I don't want to. I want to try to not have too many batteries strapped around my body, because who knows what's gonna happen to them eventually. Because like lithium ion batteries, they tend to at some point like swell and just blow up. So please, after some years of usage, make sure you check in on your batteries. If you don't want to sleep on the forbidden pillow. It's not healthy.
The forbidden pillow.
I gotta remember that one. Have you slept on the forbidden pillow?
You can actually Google that forbidden pillow or Reddit/r/spicy pillows. That is an actual term used for it. That's gonna be the most beautiful term, because it looks like a blown up pillow like that when it's like swelling. Oh no, we got another pillow. Don't sleep on it. It's the forbidden one. Yeah.
I do have one question about Subsystem, just because I'm curious. And what initially inspired Subsystem and the maps that are attached to it, and what are some of your favorite events that have happened here since you've been here?
Oh yeah. So how do I say that? So I wasn't there for the start of Subsystem, but I just had an interview by the time of recording yesterday with Rob Robbins' voice on his podcast VRChatworld Live. I'm sorry for plugging this one right now.
No, it's okay.
But
we've had
there's somebody. There's a good reason I'm doing it. There's a good reason I'm doing this. Okay, so Cy Renix, he's one of the two founders of Subsystem, and he was there for the founding, compared to me, who wasn't, right? Like, and he talked about this yesterday, and I can sort of give a short response to it. Basically, HARDERBOX already existed when he showed up. He was onboarded as a DJ, and then he started taking part in the team. At some point, became one of the admins. But then HARDERBOX, we call it HARDERBOX V1 at the time, had a bit of a fallout. And from what I heard, it was just kind of mismanaged. It didn't work all that well, and they had the wrong approach to it. And so what they kind of fell out, and within a couple months, they decided, okay, basically Sai and another person decided, okay, let's bring back HARDERBOX, but this time let's do it properly. Let's cut out all the bullshit and do it better. And that's where the idea of subsystem kind of happened, right? Because HARDERBOX was a thing, but subsystem wasn't. And the idea of subsystem was having like sort of like an umbrella organization to host more things than the pure rave events. Like HARDERBOX, it's all about the hard dance music. It's all about hardstyle, hardcore, J-core, Frenchcore, uptempo, breakcore, all the stuff that you can imagine that's really intense and hard. It works really well in the European time zone. So here we are. But the thing is, it's not that like it's good to like really rave to and like go hard. But some people don't like that, and also some people sometimes they want to have more of a danceable mood. And so the idea of server room came to be, which is more the 128 BPM to, I guess, up to 150 BPM type of regular EDM, house, techno, breaks, UKG, you name it, all that stuff. And that's how that happened. We've had Sai and another person founding that, and that was basically the beginnings of Subsystem. And only a few months into that phase, which then also was called HARDERBOX V2, when this venue came about. It wasn't even on this map. It was still like on a different map. It was a different one where like you started on a little parking lot, you walked downstairs, and you wouldn't have any of the light shows. You would just have some cool visuals in the background, but it wouldn't have the cool light shows. That came later with HARDERBOX V3, which this is basically a derivative of. Before I get ahead of myself though, I only joined like after the fact, and with all that story out of the way of me slowly getting more into the role of actually running stuff here and also scouting people, I will say the later the events, like the later we go into the timeline, the more fun I will have. I guess my biggest highlights of Server Room and HARDERBOX are always the ones where, like the events where I get to have cool interactions with people. A lot of time that's artists, considering that's my job. And for example, I'm going to name this one. This was during Nurture 3, so our attendance was fairly low, but that didn't matter because I managed to book 2 artists that I knew from Spotify. So like before I even played VRChat, I already listened to their music. And those 2 would be Laxity and Goji. And it was really cool to see that I brought both of them on, like from sort of outside VR, or at least with not much VR. I figured it wasn't much VR, but turns out Laxity is quite the VR head. And Goji is an occasional VRChat player. So I got both of them on. That was a big moment for me already, because like, hey, that's 2 artists that I look up to. Shout out on that on that end actually. But it was really cool seeing the 2 interact, because apparently Laxity didn't know Goji, but looked into Goji once the poster came out, and like he looked into the lineup a little bit, and then listened to Goji's music and was like, oh, that's really good music, you know. And then Goji already was kind of a fan of Laxity, and he was watching his tutorials back in the day to like really get started on his music, and I really like both of their music. And then I saw both of them like appreciating each other like so hard during the event, like they were yapping together, and they were like, oh, you, yeah, oh, what's up, like, and like that's 2 artists that I look up to and that I really like, that I didn't even know through VRChat, that I just like sort of connected. And they connected really well. Like after the event, they shared each other's like highlight videos from the events on each other's Twitter and giving each other shout outs like, oh, shout out to you, you're so cool. No, you too. Like that was such a wholesome moment to me. Like that's easily one of my highlights. And then also there was a DJ on there who was I think also like a bit of a fan of Goji, and that's what I like to do whenever I get the bigger names on. I'm like, I try to remember, or like I kind of have a feel for who could be a fan of who, and then I look out and I find out, okay, yeah, that's the person. And so there was this one other person that I found out, okay, yeah, that person likes Goji, all right. And then I got them on to play right after Goji.
Oh.
And so putting like the smaller VRChat artists like together with like people they're looking up to on one lineup, that's something I really like doing. I've also did that with that one time when I had New Furry for Server Room, which was a big moment for me too, because I really love New Furry stuff. She's such a creative person. She does so many cool visual things, gets a lot of stuff done somehow. I don't know where she takes that energy from. And her music is just really unique, but really good. And recently she's been blowing up even more and more, and I'm so happy because like she's literally pulling like 6 figures of streams on Spotify monthly now.
Oh wow.
But at the time when I got her on, it was somewhere in the I guess in the 5 digits, which is also like pretty big. And so I wasn't sure if I could do it, but I managed to reach out and have a bit of a convo, and we vibed, which was also really cool. Like we talked a bunch, and we just got along really well. And so this was just like a really, really cool get along type moment of having her on. And I knew for a fact that there was this other person who was like a big fan of her. That was also on our DJ roster, and so Hysterium it was, and I was like, oh hey, so I'm gonna have more of a trans-focused event. I mean, you know New4, right? What would you say you're going a bit harder or more chill than New4? Like, just in comparison. And then he was like, oh yeah, I think I'm more on the softer side because you know New4 is more hyper trans and I'm more in the regular type. I'm like, yeah, all right. So would you be free at this and that time? And then he already smelled. He was like, are you trying to book me on a lineup with New4? Like, you're stop it. You're missing the point. Just tell me if you're free. Stop digressing so hard. Me gaslighting. And then he's like, oh yeah, well, I guess I should be free. Yeah. All right, you're playing right before New4 now. And he was like, what? No. So that's a cool moment. And I love, in general, I love giving these cool moments to people. There's another one. For example, we once managed to have a 100 people instance. For those who aren't in the know, which I guess everyone is, but let me just recap real quick. As of recording, and probably for a longer while, VRChat lobbies / instances, as we call them, are capped to 80 people maximum. So you can only have 80 people in an instance at any given point. Except for when VRChat did a little bit of testing, and they chose a couple clubs to raise the bar a little bit. It wasn't just like a handful; it was like a few more. I think like 10, 12 or so places. And like at different times, they would like just see what is it like if we raise the bar, if we raise the limit up to say 90 or 100 people. I think I saw 120 at some point as well, but I'm not entirely sure right now. 190 people instances were a thing, and I saw them a bunch of times. And the reason they would do this was like to test, to see, you know, how do instances react to if we actually do that? Do we have some bugs to iron out? And in fact, they did, because they ended up doing this with HARDERBOX at some point. I think it was the March edition of this year, 2024. Yeah. And instead of 80 people, we would have 100 people. At some point, some people would get stuck in a traveling state, which wouldn't happen with an 80 people lobby. So at some point, it would be soft blocked to like 99 or 98 people, because like the game was thinking like somebody was joining who wasn't joining anymore. And that's something they had to like iron out later, and then they could fix that on the go. So we could go back to 100 full. But all in all, we were one of the lucky few that actually managed to have like an extended instance, 100 people. And on top of that, I had a DJ booked. A DJing, should I say, that I discovered her a few months prior, and I listened to her sets on YouTube, and I didn't have much of a VRChat engagement with her because she's from a different time zone. But I discovered her and was like, that's the sound that we're looking for, and I wrote her down on my smart little list of talent to look out for. And I ended up reaching out to her at some point. She was still pretty new to the VRChat rave scene. Probably also one of the reasons I didn't see her around much. Just like sort of discovering it, and she didn't even know what HARDERBOX was. But when I reached out, I was like, "Hey, so do you mind if you want to play for us in March 2024? Here's the time slot. Something in the ballpark of this. Are you down?" And then she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm game. I'd love to play for your community. We'll see you there." Okay. And that happened to be the 100 people instance edition. So you've got this newcomer DJ showing up to HARDERBOX. Because what I found out later, like a bit later down the line, she told me about it, was that she then went back to some of her other VRChat friends and said, "Oh, hey guys, it's so cool. I just got a booking. Oh, what is it for?" "Yeah, it's for this like place called HARDERBOX." And then her friends were like, "For HARDERBOX?" Okay, that's big, you know. And I'm like, and she was like, "Oh, I didn't even realize. Okay, cool. I'm excited." And then she shows up here. And I talked to her. I'm like a little bit busy getting things going, but I'm trying to get her ready for her gig. It's just a couple more minutes to go. And so I show up and I'm like, hey, Potace, yeah, how you doing? Okay, so are you ready? Did you do this and that? Okay, are you ready? Okay, cool. Just so you know, this is a 100 people instance, an extended instance, and there's like 20 something people in the queue, so it's probably not going down anytime soon. No pressure. And I was having a bit of fun there. And she was like, yeah, sure. Walks on stage, 1 or 2 small technical difficulties later, she plays her set. And she plays it really well. She's really good. Shout out. And I remember her like going off the stage, and we didn't even talk much. She just like hopped off, and she's like, yeah, wow, thanks, Merlz. That was so cool. I'm gonna go now. See ya. And like, I could tell she was just kind of not believing what just happened. And it's those moments when you can like give somebody these like wow moments, and like you're the one responsible for it, that you feel it by proxy, and those are the best moments, I'm telling you. Later on, I did meet her at DEF CON 1, which is a festival in the Netherlands. It's really cool that I got to see her because she's from the States. And she flew over to see all of her favorite artists and all that stuff. And I managed to meet her. And at some point, she actually came up to me and gave me a little hug for booking her. And was like, oh, dude, that was such a cool evening. That was one of my favorite nights ever. Thank you so much. I'm like, it was bound to happen. You're a great artist. But yeah, it's those are my favorite moments. Just when I'm able to like give this joy out, like when I'm able to have like cool names on there that I look up to, and then being able to share this joy with others, and then also just like giving people really cool moments. And we do that a lot over here at Subsystem. We have a lot of just cool moments and great nights. So that is probably my absolute favorite. Those are my favorite moments, and I don't think I can pinpoint one and say that's the one, but those are a bunch of those, and they're so cool.
Oh, those sound really
Hey, Merlz.
Cool.
Hmm?
What is one of the weirdest things that you've seen in Hardbox when everything started kicking off? When you're sitting here, watching and everything else? What's the strange thing you ever seen in here?
Oh, you thought you were here for e-girls? You thought f***ing wrong. You're here for Hash Studios. Sick of tools that break more than they work? Or needing a computer science degree just to make an image show up in Unity? Worry no more. At Hash Studios, we have prefabs for everything you need. Megaphones for those world-shaking announcements, pop-up menus to keep out the less fashionable avatars from your club, and a band menu that lets you handle any unwanted guests. Hash Studios prefabs, available now on Gumroad, Booth, Jinxie, and Payhip. Get yours, or live with regret. Ooh, I hate that. I actually want to die.
Strange things, huh? I don't think there's too many super duper strange things, at least not some that are coming to mind right now. I will say, even though that hasn't happened in a bit, there used to be this group of Finnish avatars, like avatars all covered in the Finnish flag, and they would like show up in a group out of nowhere. It was like, I think 12 or so people, 12 or 15 people, all of them in the same Finnish Rusk avatar, running to the front and going really hard, and it was just like this Finnish invasion happening, and it happened for like months on end with every single event. Suddenly, like we would see them show up and we're like, oh no, here come the Finnish. Shout out to that crew. I'm not sure where you are, but I love you.
Okay.
Speaking of cool moments, I remember in some of our conversations online, you've mentioned a whole other things you've been up to that sound really dope. Like you did some stuff with Medlish. You said you wanted to wait till after some IRL stuff. In between, you went to some other really awesome venues. What else has happened since you and I talked? Oh.
Well,
VRChat
apparently I've
pencil.
turned into a noodle. That's what happened. Here we go. I'm sorry,
class.
just doing a little yoga intermission. All right. Okay. for those who aren't in the know, first of all, you should be. Medlish was on here on this podcast. You should watch that episode. I even have a little cameo moment in there. But Medlish is one of my homies in here, and in fact, I would even go as far as to saying one of my mentors, because he's when I started out, at some point we started talking, and we were like, he's been teaching for I think half to a year at this point, but he just kind of started out, and he started giving me guides and taught me about places that exist and all that stuff. And we hung out a bunch, and we had a bunch of exchanges, some fun negging in there as well. Like on Twitter at times, we would like have like silly little fun beefs, but also we would like throw little parties together, little pop-ups for a while. And all in all, our journey is just very paralleled for some reason. So like we're good friends. We do a lot of stuff together, and it doesn't exactly help that we both have a similar starting name. So it's like how do I say this? My name starts with ME. His starts with ME. We're both German VR DJs, and at some point also became one of the more known ones, I suppose. And so people just throw us in the same basket. I've noticed many times, even in front of me or whatever, and like we talk about that stuff. A lot of people like call me Medlish and they call him Merlz. Okay, like apparently we're the same person here, but we get along like, and at some point, a friend of ours, going by the name Project Seele, who like booked us for a B2B because he was like, I like you too, you are funny, and you guys have this like love-hate relationship going. I'm booking you for a B2B, you make it work. Which is what we did. And that was like a year before this would turn into a bigger thing. This was when like at the end of 2022, around December 2022 when we tried that out for the first time. And we both weren't so experienced, and we weren't on the same wavelengths just yet, so that one is horrible. That set is still up on my YouTube channel somewhere. It's called Merlz B2B Medlish at Vanguard, and it's so terrible. For one, it's a 2-hour set, and we wanted to start out more chill. We didn't plan the whole thing. We just threw our libraries together, and we're like, yeah, we'll see how this works out. And he picked a couple of my tracks where I was like, okay, are you sure you know those? But okay, I'll let you cook. He was the one saying, let's start out more chill. We've got 2 hours. He's playing a track. Oh, that's a good pick. Okay, I'm playing a track. Yeah, that works. And then he's playing the next one. And this one goes like super hard. I'm like, oh no. Oh, this is going to be a train wreck. Oh no. And at that point, it was just like really from start to finish, this was horrible. But that's where the seed was laid. Like, this is kind of where it started. And a year later, in December 2023, or like, I guess somewhere before December 2023, I felt like I wanted to try that again, but this time I wanted to try it a bit harder. So I messaged him again. I'm like, hey, Medlish, how about we try this again? Like, how about we do the B2B thing again? But this time we go all in. Like, you know, like how special live acts, sometimes they have these like special clothes. So I can actually show this one, I think. Let me see. It should still be in my history here. Over here we go. Yeah. We would have like special versions of our avatars. We were going for a bit of a yin-yang kind of look. Once it's loaded, you should be able to see it. Here we go.
You're a light bulb on camera, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. This is really bright. Let me see. Can I go over here instead? So I would be the light version. I'd be very like in very white clothes, and he would be like with black hair, and he would like have white hair with more black clothes, giving that yin yang kind of theme. And our visuals, which I commissioned some visual loops from Halo. They would reflect that too, and then we would shoot cool trailers, and we were going all in. The track list, we would perform the whole thing live, but at the same time we would make sure that we know exactly what track to play when, and that the whole thing is like really thought out. And we even shot we've shot some cool trailers for it and got people hyped. And this time it wasn't this like train wreck that people just kind of went to for the novelty maybe. But it was this thing people were actually kind of hyped for, and when they showed up, it kind of paid off because we were like really delivering on a show there, like on a good performance. And it was so good. Like in one night we decided, like, first of all, this takes a lot of effort. I had to build a new PC, with a graphics card I had laying around, my previous 1070, I upgraded to a 3090 at some point from my main rig. But I had a 1070 laying around still, and so I was like, okay, well, let me just put this one into a mini ITX form factor casing that I had to order, together with a main board and a new CPU and all that stuff. And all of that stuff set me back like by 800 something euros already. So I could have this like mini form factor PC on the go. Make no mistake, that thing's heavy as hell. I had to drag this one all the way to his place, which is a couple hours by train. And it's heavy, but whatever. I also had to obviously get the train tickets going and stuff. And that is what I'm trying to get to is this is an investment already, like into it. So we didn't just do one set that night, we did like 3 or 4 actually. We ended up playing for Liquicity's community live stream, which is the thing they do. That was a last minute decision because he applied for it, got accepted, and it was the same night. So we were like, okay, let's turn that into a B2B too. And so we ended up playing our set together for that one. We had a bunch of people show up in that Twitch chat as well, like, oh, VR represented Liquicity, let's go. That had people hyped. And then we played for Myriad, we played for Server Room, which, okay, that booking I could do myself. And for let me think about it, I forgot what the third one was. There was another venue, but we were really dead tired. And it turned into quite the, dare I say, shit show, because like we were exhausted at the time we played that one. Was it the complex? I don't entirely remember. Yeah, I think it was the complex. Yeah, or whatever. But we played like 4 sets that night together, paired with a bunch of beers and some pizza, and it was very stressful because I showed up a bit late because the German train system sometimes kind of screws you like that. We made it all work just in time. We ordered the pizza. It showed up and we didn't even eat it because we had to play our first set. And then in between the first and the second set, we had an hour of talking and hanging out a little bit, eating the pizza, drinking another beer, back into VR. Next performance is going on, you know. And we would notice that this landed really well with people. Like people would actually show up for those performances, and so we ended up doing those a couple more times. Like somewhere this year, like later down this year, I would show up at his place and we would play. No, 3 times actually. There's one more time where like the way that this works is somebody gets booked for a bit more of a like bigger place or a more prestigious venue, and then we would offer like, oh, okay, so that's one of those bigger things. Hey, Medlish, mind if I propose turning this into like, are you free? And mind if I propose the B2B thing? Like for example, at one point, Tube reached out to Medlish. I was like, hey, Medlish, do you want to play for us? And then Medlish was like, all right, give me 1 second. And then he asked me, Merlz, Tube is asking me to play. Do you want to turn this into a B2B? And I'm like, oh, hell yeah. And so same thing again. We show up for Tube, we play our set, and it's looking really good. It was a whole lot of fun. That's probably one of my most favorite like sets that I've ever played. We really killed it with that one. The same night we played for the station and for another birthday party. That one was not as planned out. We just kind of jammed out, but it was a lot of fun too. And then there was this other time where Lyoko reached out to me to play for their Jumbo Fest 2. And that one, then I reached out to Medlish and was like, hey, I'm returning the favor. Do you want to turn this into one of our fancy B2Bs? And he was like, oh, hell yeah. So we did it again. And then at another given point, 4 Seasons happened, which is a real life event hosted by Club Reality and some friends, I think. And they would turn they would turn to me, and then I would propose the B2B thing. And since it's an IRL event, we had to travel all the way over to Amsterdam in the Netherlands to perform. But we ended up doing that somewhere in August now, and that was a lot of fun. And seeing the people react to it live, like in person, was also just something different. And so I gotta say, I've made a bunch of really cool memories just in that regard alone. And I guess that explains the trope of me and Medlish doing B2Bs.
Oh, wow. Sounds like you've been up to a lot just between you and Medlish. That's pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, no, it's really fun. Like we get along really well, and you don't get to do this with like everyone because you need to be sort of on a similar skill level. Like your vibes just kind of have to align, you know. Like you if you don't vibe with somebody, if something doesn't work out, like just you can't commit this hard, you know. And especially when it comes to like, for example, getting track listing going, both me and Merlz have a music taste that is similar enough, like it's just in the right ballpark. It's similar enough for us to get along and make it work, but far apart enough to make it interesting. So there's actually some mixing going on. The way we do this is we do like sort of a 50-50 approach in terms of the music we play, and we try to make it work, like to make it fit together. And even if if one person, and we've both done this before, if one person really likes a song but it just doesn't fit that one specific set we want to play, then okay, it doesn't make it in. Like it's compromises, right? But we make it work, and I'm really grateful to have somebody like Merlz to do this with, because you need the capacity, the money, and all the resources to pull it off, and then you also just need to be able to get along and actually do it properly. And yeah, with Merlz, I have somebody to do this with, and I'm absolutely more than grateful, dude. Shout out to you. Yeah.
Oh, so I have another question for you. Since we last talked to now, what have been some memorable shows, events, or things you've done since then?
Oh well, many. I mean, there are a bunch of clubs that I've played in the meantime that I've been looking forward to playing, right? And as a VR DJ, there are a bunch of venues where you just walk in or you hear of them, but for the most part, you see them and you see it and you're like, damn, that's cool. I wonder if I could ever play here. That would be kind of sick. Oh well, one can dream. Initially, that was kind of a thing with HARDERBOX and Server Room. I would have never seen my current position coming. Not gonna lie to you, but here we are. And that is also a thing with some other venues, like when I went to like Shelter or Heist or Sanctum. Sanctum being the first venue that I ever attended in VRChat.
Oh, really?
That was literally my start. Like somebody introduced me. Yeah, somebody got me into VRChat and was like into VRChat raves and was like, oh, there's a cool party going on next Saturday. You should totally show up. It's called Sanctum. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'll give that a shot. That was my first ever thing, and that's what pipelined me so hard into this place. On that regard, shout out to Merlz and the Sanctum team. I'm doing a lot of shout outs. I like doing that. But that was like I didn't remember saying that, but one of my friends, Ox, at some point came up to me and was like, dude, because I ended up playing for Sanctum at some point. Merlz reached out to me and was like, hey, I'm doing a pop-up, I'm releasing a single, and I just feel like doing a little party. Do you want to play for us? And I'm of course like, oh hell yeah, like, because that's not only like a really cool and big place and whatnot with some prestige, but it's also kind of like, it also has a certain history to it that I like, well, hands, that I didn't, it's literally my starting point. And Ox that night came up to me, was like, oh dude, I remember when you were like, when we were like standing here, and because I got to know him that night, and he was like, you're standing here and you're saying, oh, it would be kind of cool if I could play here. Like, I wonder if I could ever play here. I'm kind of a DJ myself. Interesting, but who knows? One can dream. Like, I remember you saying that, and like, look at you now, and I'm like, I said that. That's okay. That's kind of cool. I didn't remember, but he did, and like how the tides turn. As I mentioned before, yes, like Shelter. I ended up playing for Shelter at some point. That is a venue that I highly respect, because they really pull off some really cool stuff, just in terms of the artists they pull in from outside VR and just making this place really cool. Shelter is one of the #1 go-to venues that you point to with somebody when you're like, oh, do you want to know what VR raves are like? Like, oh yeah, just go to Shelter, because they're consistent quality. You just can't go wrong with sending somebody there. And a lot of people have that ambition to play there because of all the big names they get to play there. And on top of that, you can't just apply there. They're doing a lot of active scouting, which I highly respect and relate to, because I also way prefer doing active scouting for the venues that I manage. But yeah, I ended up getting reached out to by Two Tone Disco at some point, by 2TD, and he was like, yo, I've got a slot for you at Shelter, you want to play? And fun fact, I told my friends about it in like a shared Discord. I was like, guys, shit, it happened. I'm getting to play this really cool place. How cool is that? And they were like, oh, hell yeah, congratulations. Next stop, Sanctum. And I'm like, that was Merlz responding, and I was like, First things first, I'm pretty happy with having this under my belt for now, and I'm gonna focus on this. Literally a day after, Muzz sent me that message and was like, "Oh, okay, can you play for Sanctum? All right, are you free on that Friday? Cool." That Friday being the Saturday, being the Friday before the Saturday of me playing Shelter. So I literally played both of those venues in one weekend. Which is that achievement? Is that an achievement? I don't know. Whatever. I sure as hell wouldn't recommend doing that because I'm not really happy with my Sanctum set. The recording's up on my channel for historic purposes, but I'm not all that happy with how it turned out because I was like, of course I didn't say no, but I was also like focusing on the Shelter set already, and I tried to make it good. And Muzz was also saying like, it's a pop-up. Don't stress yourself too much. You'll manage. But then I also got really nervous and all that stuff. So I ended up not delivering as well as I wanted to. But that's something that happened. I played for Sanctum, and I played for Shelter, and I played for Heist at some point. That happened. That was also one of those venues that I really liked. Redacted did an EU-friendly event once and never again. But they ended up booking me for it, and that was also really cool. So a lot of like ambitions have been reached, and that isn't like even meaning to brag because that's not my kind of thing to do. I don't like. Please don't take it as that. Oh god. But I'm really grateful for having had those experiences that other people would also, I guess, like to have sometimes. And I certainly wanted them, and here I am having gotten them. So like I'm just grateful to have had that. And that's not where it stops, because some of those places, like I mentioned earlier, would have like a little IRL branching out events. You know, like some VR clubs or VR organizations would end up doing real life raves. And I ended up playing for a few of those. Like I flew out to San Diego all the way over from somewhere close to Frankfurt, which was surprisingly cheap. I expected it to be in the 4 digits, but instead it was like 560 euros for both ways. And it was kind of underbooked, so I could just like lay down on multiple seats and get some free booze, which is apparently free to get on like international flights. And I was just like sitting there like, this is life. Gin tonic. So I arrived in San Diego after like a long flight, already like lightly tipsy, and the whole thing just also like felt like a movie. And what's even funnier is I got my ticket and my passport sorted and all that stuff. And they in the Shelter Con Discord, they would have a little application open for the community stage for DJs to apply. And I threw my application in there with a little note saying like, who knows how many more times I can make it to ShelterCon? Might as well give this one a shot. And they ended up getting me on the lineup. And so that was actually my first ever like actual real life DJing experience. It was also riddled with a couple of errors and mistakes and a lot of stage fright. But I made it work with a few hiccups that worked out. And that's like a really cool memory that I have, actually flying out over there, seeing America in all of its glory. First things first, I'm going to a Walmart, and it's looking just like I imagined it. The whole place looks like I'm inside GTA. Like, I'm not even kidding.
Well,
America sure as hell is a place straight from the comic books.
America's one of those places, especially Walmart, where it's a unique experience, especially where there's websites like People of Walmart dedicated to like the weird shit you'll see there.
Wait, I should look that up. Okay.
If you've never seen People of Walmart, just think of the strangest.
You're gonna have nightmares.
It's the strangest and worst of Walmart in one website, and that's what it is.
I looked that up because, like, for me, it was already like quite the experience just being there. Damn, like, you guys have like packaging sizes. What are you doing? Like just yesterday, somebody was like talking to me, like basically I was walking with one of my friends there, like through Walmart, who was on the phone with another friend that I knew from the UK, and that other friend from the UK yesterday was in the lobby with me, and she was saying like, "Oh, I remember you and him walking through Walmart." And you were like, you just randomly picked up like a can of pineapples, and you were like, "What is this? This thing's bigger than my head. What are you guys doing?" It's wild, yeah. And then like the whole thing just felt like I was in a movie somehow, because like I met so many people just like that I would have otherwise never seen, because y'all live so far away and so scattered around. But ShelterCon was one of those moments that like 200 plus people all come together in this one place, And a bunch of them I even knew. I actually had this hoodie on, this like Merlz hoodie, you can see it here. I got it IRL. And a bunch of people even like came up and approached me. And they were like, "Oh, Merlz, what? You're here? What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, right." It was like 3 days of just constant social buzz, of just talking to people, getting to know people, or just finally seeing those that I've always heard of. One of those moments that's really funny is that I bumped into Electro at some point too. He's a VRChat employee and also engages a lot with the clubbing community, also models some stuff in here. And I bumped into him a few days before ShelterCon, and he asked me what I was going to play, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to play Hearthstone." He's like, "Oh, I guess I'm going to show up for that one then. That's cool. It's some variety." And yeah, fun fact, I ended up deciding to play some hardstyle over at Shelter because that's not ShelterCon, because that's not really very typical Shelter type music. A lot of it is more bassy or dubstep type music. But I figured, hey, I'm the Euro import. I might as well behave like one now. And so and the music worked even better than I anticipated. Like the people actually went pretty hard on it. I guess they just didn't even know they wanted it yet. And so yeah, no, it's like that was a cool experience. But getting back to Electro, I told him like, "Oh yeah, if I see you bring me one of your stickers, I really want one of your stickers. I want it on my DJ desk." And he's like, "Yeah, okay, I'll make that work." And I knew he's more of a like he's not somebody to be super extrovert. I guess. I hope I don't categorize him too much now. If I do, I'm so sorry. But that was always my impression. He's not the most outgoing person, but he's super friendly and you can talk to him and all that stuff. What I didn't like, and then at some point I'm like standing inside of the New York Forex store with like funny heart-shaped shades that I found and bought that day, and just so I could hide them and hide my nervousness with my eyes going left and right when I'm on stage. So that's what I bought them for. And I got them on. I'm standing there, and then suddenly somebody else like walks in through the door with similar looking shades, and I'm like, "Hey, nice glasses." And he's like walking past me, and he's like, yeah, right." Walks past me, and I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I guess I'm so funny. Oh god." And yeah, I was like, okay, maybe that wasn't as funny as I'd imagined it to be. But 3 seconds later, dude comes back, looks at me, he's like, "Oh yeah, here's a sticker, by the way. It's me, Electro. See ya." And he just like walks out. I'm like, "Wait a minute!" And I had to like run behind him. Like I ran out the door. I'm like, wait. So you're Electro? Yeah, it's me. What's up? I'm like, okay, wait a second. Okay, here's my stickers. It's nice seeing you, dude. Little fist bump. Yeah, enjoy yourself here. Thanks for the sticker, dude. He's like, yeah, dude. Thanks for yours. I'm gonna keep it. And enjoy your set later. I'll try to get a listen. Oh yeah. We part ways, and then later on I'll go back to my Airbnb together with there were a couple people there like Wicho, Yenna, and Logix. That I was and Neon Bunny and a couple people. We were hanging out. And then I was talking about my day, and I mentioned, yeah, it's so wild. I bumped into so many people that I know that I thought I'd never see. Like, damn, I finally met Ikra. Ikra is such a nice person too, and like all these other people. But I'm not gonna name them all because I'm gonna be sitting here for 2 minutes just going down the list. And then I mentioned like, yeah, and I bumped into Electro. Check this out. I got the sticker. And they're like, "Electro's here? Wait, huh? I've been here for 3 ShelterCons. I've never seen him once." And everyone else is like, yeah, he's like always hiding. Like what is he doing? And it's like, and yeah, and then somebody says like, yeah, he doesn't like to be like, he likes to be a bit undercover. I'm like, oh, did I just like find a shiny Pokemon here? That's funny. Yes, I'm calling you a shiny Pokemon. No, but that's funny. That was a funny moment I had on the BNB later, and I put the sticker down over there on my DJ desk. It's looking mighty good. Yeah, and that was just a really funny experience. I ended up playing for ShelterCon. Had a few hiccups, and that wasn't the best technically speaking, not the best set ever, but it was pretty solid. And it gave me some extra confidence actually doing this IRL, even though I had a few mistakes. And it wasn't the only one, because I would be returning to the physical realm for Costa del Fishbowl. which is Fishbowl's real life event. They would book me for that one too. And I ended up playing the closing, and long story short, I felt a lot more confident. I played a set that I'm really happy with, and the people were seemingly really happy as well. I still have some videos from it. Like, you see the whole club just like bouncing and bumping fists. It's European people. They fuck a lot more with art style. But like that one worked really well, and it was so cool seeing the reactions, and it's just such a different energy from VR. I'm still more of a VR kind of person. I don't want to make it to the big stage and IRL is so much better, whatever. But it definitely is a different experience, and it's a really cool one at that. So I'd totally be down to do that again at some point. And I also did that again, like I mentioned later, with 4 seasons together with Merlz. That was an event even later down the line, like a month. And it was just really cool because I made a whole lot of those experiences, and that comes on top of just me meeting up a whole lot of people. I'm gonna have to give a little shout out to my friends that I always go to like festival stuff with Sophia, Passy, MK Sammy, General Keck, Bartz, a lot of other names that I didn't list now, but there's like a certain European friend group that likes to meet up at bigger raves or festivals, and I've made so many cool memories at those places, like DEF CON 1 or Into the Madness or Climax or Apex. Lots of really cool hardstyle events or hardcore events, and like it's mostly those because that's just kind of our common ground. And like I've made so many cool memories just meeting up with those people, and that's like, and sometimes we would even like just meet up in person without having a specific event. And yeah, I can only say VRChat has, like, just this year alone, but also over the course ever since we met, has granted me so many cool memories, just that I can't be grateful enough for, just having them in my brain now. And yeah, no, I it's gonna be hard to beat this year next year. I don't think I'm gonna even have a mission. I've made really cool memories. I've played some cool places. I've met cool friends. Yeah, no, there was so many cool moments. I'm happy.
So after that all the explanation, I'm glad you had such amazing memories. I have so many questions now. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna start back off at the beginning.
Hit me.
Alrighty. So when you played the two, both Sanctum and Shelter for the first time, when you were like, "Oh, I'd never play her," but you got that experience, what were you anticipating the experience to be like? And then what was it like when you actually sat there at the decks in those venues?
Well, I already knew my heart was going to be racing. And for Sanctum, it wasn't their mainline event. It was like a pop-up in their pop-up space, but it still felt like really honoring. So that felt more like, okay, I'm nervous, now I got to do something, and maybe I didn't deliver on it. So I thought it was going to be a bit cooler than I thought it was going to be, but that's mostly because I feel like I didn't deliver on the performance. But other than that, it felt kind of like home. I had a lot of friends around me, and that just really brightened my mood. Like, so even though technically it wasn't the best that I ever played, I had a really good night. Medlish, my homie, played right after me and absolutely killed it. I remember seeing Muzz in the chat, like in our like internal Discord chat, going, "Medlish, please, I have an IRL DJ and artist reputation to uphold. You can't go this hard, please. Take it easy on me. I'm still playing after you." Like, he was all over like how Medlish played, and rightfully so. Medlish just so killed it. That was really fun, and that was a cool experience. And it was like mixed, but it was like still really cool. And with Shelter, I already anticipated it to be pretty wild, because just by the sheer numbers, first and foremost, I guess, because there's going to be like 4 instances, all of them filled up with people, like 80, and then on top of that, you've got the Twitch stream. So there's like somewhere in the ballpark of 300 to 500 people watching you. And by watching you, I mean watching you, because the other thing about Shelter is, it's not like some other venues where people are, a bit more socializing in the back, and there's some yapping, and some people are facing you and some people aren't. No. Shelter is full focus on you. People are not talking. People are not really distracting themselves too much. I guess few are, but for the most part, everyone's fully focused on listening to your and watching your performance. So I remember it was me, 2TD obviously on the lineup as well, but it was also me, Wake, and Windward on the lineup. And the way this goes is you're in a pre-instance that the shelter team opens up, and 2TD will invite you to. And so you're standing in there, and you can invite a friend or two, so you can take them into your main instance. Please, not too many more, or like not anymore, because we want regular people to have a chance to get into the main instance. But that's kind of how it went, and we were standing there, and then we walked through the portal as Two-Tone dropped it. He drops it, and he's like, okay, go in now. Main instance open. So we all walk through there, and me, Windward, and Wake, we're standing there, like we're responding into the main instance. It was on their reality map, so you're inside that pod. You're clicking through the little menu, and then you walk through that office building. And so all three of us are making a little stop right after the pods, and we're standing there looking at each other, and you're like, yeah, guys, this is it. I guess this is happening now, huh? Crazy, huh? Yeah. Have fun, y'all. Yeah, you too. And then we're all looking back, and then we realize everyone's starting to load into the map, and like the doors of all those individual pods are like opening up. It's like and there's like tons of people like walking towards us, and we're like, guys, I think we should run. Like we're starting to scream. All three of us like, no, run downstairs. Like we're panicking a little bit. And yeah, we've had a lot of people like approach us, and everyone's like showing up, and they're like, oh, yo, tonight's gonna be sick. You're like, we got a European DJ Geraltor. Like, that's kind of a rare thing anyway. So that one I feel really honored for. But what's even crazier is that the way this goes is for the first 30 minutes of the instance being open, you're not really seeing any nobody's playing. Everyone's just like sort of walking in. There's some waiting music playing, some like onboarding music, and then only half an hour into the instance being open, people are gonna start actually like the first DJ presses play, and that was me. I was doing the opening.
Oh.
So at some point, after walking down that alleyway into that basement and behind the decks, I still had 5 minutes to go. I was already like nervous, but I didn't expect my heart to race this much. I thought I was like getting a bit of a heart attack, because like I look at my non-existent clock, and like, oh, okay, 5 minutes to go, and I'm just like staring at the crowd, and everyone's staring back at me, and I stare back at my watch that doesn't exist. And I'm like, okay, does everything work? And I'm just like fidgeting a bit. Yeah, everything's working all right. I'm supposed to press play at around half. So yeah, my heart was racing like crazy. But at some point, the clock struck 30, and I was like, okay, I guess it's time. Press play, and it went really well. That is a set that to this day I'm fairly happy with. I of course, the later somebody like the later you get booked, and the later you do it, you can always do it better. Like nowadays, I probably have my ways to make it even more, like, flow even better, or have an even more interesting spectacle going on. But I'm still very happy with how this one went, and I had so many friends in that lobby just like raving and going hard. So that was a really cool experience. I will say that, yeah.
Oh, sounds like a really cool experience. So you've also mentioned a bunch of IRL shows you've played, both ShelterCon in San Diego, and then Costello Fishbowl. What were those experiences like, and what are you anticipating going to them like? And what would you say the feel is between those in real life versus their counterparts in VR?
Well, okay, so first of all, things are happening in real time. You know, in VRChat, when you're playing a set, like, you're gonna stand behind those decks, and depending on how things are set up, it's gonna take a bit for the sound to actually reach the venue. Sometimes it's a bit sooner than not. Like if the DJ streams straight into the venue and the player is set to low latency, like the in-venue video player is set to low latency mode, which comes at a cost of instability, and some players might have issues or not hear the sound at all. So that's why over here it's a system we don't do low latency, but some venues do have it, and you know, it's a bit of a trade-off. And then on top of that, sometimes it might do some extra hop. Like over here, the DJ sound doesn't straight up go into the venue. It first reaches the light operator, then the visual jockey, and then it goes onto a centralized streaming machine that then sends it into the venue. So there's quite the delay. In real life, none of that is happening. You press play, it's happening instantly. So the crowd feedback happens instantly. It's just a different experience, but also a really cool one because you get to like really anticipate when the crowd is, feeling something, and you can feed off of that. You can play into it, and also just like that feel of having people like right in front of you in real life is just different. When I first went to ShelterCon, I thought like, oh, I'm gonna play the second stage. I'm not gonna have 100 or 100 something or even 200 people in front of me. I'm gonna have like 30 or 50 people in front of me. And it was like around 50, I guess. And like I mentioned earlier, you've got 80 people in an instance sometimes in VRChat. For some reason, like I thought my dumbass thought, no, I'm not gonna have stage fright too much. It's gonna be fine. I've done this many times, even if it's a VR. Oh God, the stage fright hit me crazy. it's not comparable. I was like getting really sweaty and you in my ShelterCon video you can so see it that I'm like I managed, but oh God, can you see how nervous I was? So that's a wild difference. And then also gear. At home, I will say that it's a lot more comfortable. You've got your entire collection, your whole tech stack, your setup, your software. Everything is set up the way you're used to it, and that really helps. IRL, you often don't even get to try the gear beforehand. You're just kind of thrown into cold water. You're told, hey, this is the gear you're gonna use. If everything goes well, they're gonna tell you anyway. Usually they do. And then you gotta format your USB sticks with the specific songs and or even full libraries, I guess. However you want to approach it. But in like very specific ways, they have to be formatted, and then you might have to like find ways to test it on real hardware somewhere, so you can really make sure the hardware is able to read it. In worst case, you got to reformat, or you got to bring a bunch of USB sticks formatted in different ways in hopes that one of them is going to be formatted just right. And that is a bit of a hellhole you have to work yourself through. But so far, because of decent prep work, I managed to get through it. And having a lot of people around me that also helped me with it, of course. So that's a different experience. You're not entirely sure, like you're not exactly in the comfort of your home, and especially like in the comfort of your gear. That is also like, that is something you gotta estimate. You'll make it work in the end. It's a DJ. It's a DJ booth. It'll have the usual stuff, but you'll have to find it. You have to feel comfortable with it. And even though I used to use the same type of, the same model of DJ deck for my fishbowl gig, I still had to get myself used to it again for the first 5 minutes. So I had one or two minor errors till I get the feel of it still. But then it worked out. Where with the fishbowl gig, I was a bit overwhelmed already by the whole situation. And playing on foreign hardware was also new to me, so don't underestimate that. That's gonna kick you in the butt.
Oh, well, thank you for explaining all that. I think it's quite awesome to hear the VR about all the real life counterparts to all the stuff you do in VR. So thanks for kind of letting us in a little bit on that. And it's actually really cool to see from when you and I first met. Way back when. Shout out if you want to see Merlz back a year ago before a lot of this. There's a video where you get to see him way back when, and hearing all the stuff you've been up to has been crazy from where you and I first met to now. You've been busy.
Yeah. A lot of stuff happened in the meantime. It's still sort of unbelievable for me, but at the same time, I'm nothing but grateful. I know some of this can come across as a brag. I mentioned it earlier. Absolutely not meaning it to be. I like to also give that back to other people as much as that's possible, and I'm just grateful I was able to make these memories. I would have 2 years ago would have not imagined that it was going to be this awesome of a journey. VR DJing, I approve. you should give it a shot.
Yeah. Well, I hope someone out there hears your story and is inspired to DJ here in VR as well.
Well, I hope. Oh, sorry, just me calibrating again. Here we go. Yeah, no, I hope so. If you've ever been on the brink of trying it, you were on the fence, you weren't sure, give it a shot. Hell, even reach out to me. I'll happily help set things up. and make things work. I'm always down to give some tips and tricks. Yeah, I love to see this place prosper because I can, for the life of it, not give back what this place has given me. I'm not sure what I could do. Like, I try, with like involving myself in the scene, and it's a lot of give and take. You give some stuff, you get some back. It's like the more you involve yourself with the community in here, I feel like the more you're also rewarded with other cool memories and other cool like people giving you cool stuff back in a way. But I don't think I could even like do what the scene has done to me. Like there's nothing that can outweigh that. I'm eternally grateful, and for anybody that's on the fence about it, just go give it a shot. Do it.
I said this is something I've said on a few occasions, but I feel like giving that experience to someone else in VRChat is like the best, what you could call late game VRChat content. Like when you're playing any video game and you're already a new game, plus
Yeah.
you've played too much, you're looking for that next thing. I think providing those experiences for others in VRChat is the closest thing to late game content there is, and it's rewarding too.
I feel like absolutely. I feel like like I said, like engaging and being like a creator for yourself is, I feel like, the late game of VRChat, and it hits you soon. I wasn't much of a late game enthusiast in something like World of Warcraft, to be honest. That never really worked for me as well. But I will say, in here, this is exactly my type. Like, this is up my alley. There's so many things I still want to do, and I'm just not getting to because I'm lacking time and energy. I still want to get deeper into DJing. I still want to get into mapping. I have not touched Unity in terms of making worlds happen and world creation happen, not even once. Instead, for all my endeavors, I usually have other people doing that, and then I'll onboard them or maybe commission them, and then my vision sort of comes to life, and I do all the stuff around it. But I simply don't have the time and energy to get to that yet. I did tip my toes into avatar creation. I've been getting a lot more into light operation and all that stuff. But I'm like, I'm at my limit here, and that's in a good way.
There is a lot to do. I do agree, and I'm in the same boat. There's just so much to get into, and not enough time to get into all of it. And the fact that hearing what you've been doing here is crazy, that you've been able to find the time for most of this on top of your day job, being here with Subsystem. Man, it's crazy, and I'm also very impressed to hear about the journey you've been on since you and I first met, man. Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm really happy. This is just really cool. I will say, the cool thing about it is also that, like, whenever somebody feels like something's missing, there's often this like motivation of like, oh, there's not enough of this, or I want more of this. That there's a lack of this. I want more. People often end up just doing it. There's a whole lot of clubs and venues open right now, and even outside of the rave scene, there's new games and worlds popping up left and right that haven't been done yet, and then they are done. Some solutions that are used by world creators, for example, like new shaders and new assets to play with, they pop up left and right, like all the time. So you just get this huge creative playground. And in a way, what I will say about Subsystem, there's one thing that is hard to realize in here, and that's the spontaneity of it. HARDERBOX is in server room, obviously. Subsystem in general is just very try hard. It takes a lot of people to run a single show, and it takes a lot of them to run them on the regular, because you don't want to burn the team out. So we're trying to spread it out a bit. We're trying to keep the team motivated, keep the vibes good, and then we split shifts in between each other, and we're making it work. And especially, let's say, like I will say, like a year ago, that was pretty rough. There was like one person doing a thing the entire night, almost all the time, and they wouldn't be able to experience the show by themselves or just relax for a part of the show. No, just 5 hours of constant light jockeying or VJing, 5 hours of constant hosting. And nowadays we have multiple people who are basically sort of free, like internally need to sign up and say, oh, I can do this task. Oh, I'm free for this one. And then you get to do 2 or 3 hours of a certain task, and then the other person gets to switch over, and you get to be free and maybe do another task if you're masochistic like that, or you're just sitting down, relax, or you party with the others, and you socialize with the community. And this way, we also that's definitely something good, because this way you get to like actually experience our own event as a staff member, which really helps in like collecting like feedback by yourself and knowing what to improve and whatnot. Like you're a bit more grounded. And that's something we really improved on. Oh yeah, but what I wanted to get to is, this is a very try-hard place. This place needs a lot of staff members to run. This needs a lot of coordination, and just, it runs like clockwork these days, but it took some time to get there, and it's still effort, a bunch of it. With that being said, also shout out to the entire team who has been rocking it the past 2 years. Like I said earlier, by no means should this place still exist. But yeah, that being said, I am looking into launching Hive Mind again, which has been on hiatus for about a year. It's been running for a bit, and then an edition or two kind of flopped because I feel like I didn't do it right and I had the wrong approach to it. And so I was like, okay, this isn't working out. I'm gonna put this on the back burner. In fact, I'm gonna put it on ice, and I'll bring it back later. And the time's finally coming. I'm slowly bringing it back, and this time the approach is going to be a bit more lax. I want to sort of like the music style. I want to have an identity, so it's going to be curated in that regard by me. But in terms of the visual work, like DJing, LDing, and all that stuff, I want it to be optional, so that people have a bit of a creative outlet to try it out. Because I'm telling you right now, we don't have enough LDs. We don't have enough people to do the light jockeying. As VJ wise, we have a couple more, but it doesn't hurt having more of those, because it's not like we have an abundance of them. It's more like we have enough. And with light jockeys, we have barely enough. So with Hive Mind, I want to create this playground that's a bit less, full on, this DJ only has this one time to play here, this one spot, and they get the video afterwards, and it's their big moment or whatever. Because like, especially for the hard dance scene, it's not an understatement to say that HARDERBOX has basically become the biggest hard dance, meaning hardstyle, hardcore type venue, probably in VRChat. Maybe not, but from what I've seen, it's big, and people are like have a certain expectation when they play here, and they really want to deliver. And so this one has more pressure to it. And with Hive Mind, I want to take some of that pressure away and create more of a creative space where people can experiment for themselves, try some different techniques, or just, make it. The best phrasing I've found so far is calling it casual quality. It's still supposed to be a place that's kind of cool, that has a certain quality to it, that a certain standard, but at the same time, it's not as intense. People can try and see if the whole LDing thing is for them, or VJing, or they can try a different genre to see if it's for them, or try different mixing technique and make it a bit more laid back. And also don't set the expectation of there being a full lobby, because for example, this world over here, it's pretty big. It already sort of plays with that expectation that it's going to be a full lobby, which it pretty much has been for over a year now, with every single event. But with Hive Mind, I don't want, like the previous venue had a bit of a design flaw where it was just too big. And if it was like 10 to 20 people, they would all be standing on the far outsides. And the place would just kind of look dead. The DJ would feel demotivated, and people would just be cozy, but that was kind of in dissonance with the music that was played, which is more the rave type of music on a Friday night, that is. So I kind of changed up the venue a little bit. So even if there's like only 5 to 10 people or so, it's going to look a bit more crowded. People are closer together, and they actually get to, even if nobody's like going insanely hard or whatever, they still get to see something cool, and they're encouraged to like engage with each other. But you still have the option to step outside and stuff. So that's not entirely taken away. It just has a bit of a different design approach now. And the whole thing just is supposed to like really follow the mantra of casual quality and make your engagement optional. Don't set too high expectations, because that's what killed it last time around. But this time it's going to be a lot better. And I'm really excited to bring that back too, actually. So that on the note of Hive Mind, which is probably having its launch in January. I'm not gonna say the
Oh.
date right now, but it's probably gonna be in the first half of January if all
Okay.
goes well.
Okay. I have a question for you as well. From all the experiences and what you've done so far in VRChat, what are you going to take from that experience and bring to Hive Mind? Oh, I'm here to interrupt your current video. Ask you a favor. Down in the description, down that way, is a link, metaversedegen.card.co, which you have a whole bunch of other places. If you wish to continue following us, we have a Twitter, which I run for us, which you get updates and other stuff and random thoughts from me. We have a Discord where Raptor, I, and the entire crew and all the other people we know will be over there hanging out. We game there fairly regularly or hang out in there, so feel free to go over that way and come chat with us. We'd love to meet you. We have a Spotify now, surprise. So if you wish to watch it there or listen to it there, it'll be there for you as well. Also, we have a Patreon, which we have a whole other show, which we haven't been keeping up with, but we're doing our best. But we have a whole other show there for you as well. We would like to give a huge thanks to some of our supporters over that way, which is Future Oracle, Aliquum, Niche, and Forbidden Zero, all of which we thank you very much for everything, and hopefully we'll see you around and you continue to enjoy the content. Enjoy the current video. Oh boy.
I mean, a whole lot it comes down to like how you manage a place in general, how you oh god. Okay, so this was already a thing that I did with Hive Mind before it was like burned in with Subsystem. But what Subsystem in the meantime really reconfirmed to me is that it's so important that your team isn't the most skilled. That can happen through training and practicing and stuff. The most important, this is gonna sound like business talk, oh god. The most important asset that you have as an organizer or organization or whatever in general is the good vibe, because we all do this shit for free. We all just do this for the fun of it. If the vibes are bad, if the chemistry in between the team doesn't work out, you lost. That's when it's over, because if you want quality or consistency or both, you need to have fun doing it. And you're not gonna get there if you have the most cracked team, but they all scream at each other and things don't work. It's really important that the team at the same time is also just kind of a friend group enjoying the thing they do. And for myself, I know this isn't everyone, but for myself, I'm a person that connects with people through what I do. Like, it's like, you know, some people would say, oh, can't we do something outside of race and outside of organizational stuff sometimes? Why does it always have to be? But for me, I connect with people as I work with them on projects. That's always been a thing even before VR for me. Like with all the music projects that I worked on with my then friends. And that's how I get a good vibe. We do some cool stuff, and then we're happy about having done some cool stuff, and then we hang out and we giggle and we're goofballs, and we also hang out outside of events and we don't only talk shop and all that stuff. Like obviously that happens, but I connect the best like with people when the vibe is right and we actually have fun creating stuff together. That has an energy that like literally is the most important thing you can have when running something like this, like this or like Hive Mind. And with Hive Mind, it always was friend circle, have fun straight from the get-go, even though it was misguided at times. And with Subsystem, it started out more spite-y. Like we have the team nowadays is entirely different. It sort of rinsed itself over time, but without getting into details too much, specifically the team from HARDERBOX V1, which is like an entirely different team. Like literally, I'm not sure if a single person, oh yeah, except for Sai, I guess, but I'm not sure if a single person other than Sai from HARDERBOX V1 is still around. Maybe Passy, but like back then the motivation was, oh, we're gonna show them how that's done. We're gonna show the other venues how it's done. And it was just like driven by this like sort of spite and oh, we're gonna do this better and that's just not a thing anymore. And the bad thing is it showed to the outside. That's kind of the attitude that people picked up on. And I'm so glad that over the last year, especially, I've had the opportunity to revamp our image to the outside and our fellow venue runners and artists and all that stuff. That we are much more of a chill place now, that we just like get along with people and that we don't have an attitude anymore. Like that attitude stays out so hard nowadays. I'm making sure of that. I don't want no one in our team to ever think that we're like better than anybody for some dumb reason. Like this is a community effort, and if we don't get along with our community, why the hell are we doing this, right? So, no, I'm really happy we've been through some previous management and some previous people have caused us some hardships in terms of like image and all that stuff in the long run. But I'm so happy to say that this is for the most part over and that like things are good. So foster a good vibe, foster a great community, and have fun creating the thing you do. Otherwise, the consistency sure as hell isn't happening. And through that, quality will happen over time anyway. This is more evolution than revolution because we kept iterating on our ideas and we kept like bettering stuff. And this wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the right people sticking around. That's a big takeaway I have from Subsystem.
Wow. Well, I hope Hive Mind is able to grow and take off the way you wish it to. Your entire vision, I do wish you the best, and I can't wait to see what you do with it. So, good luck, man. Genuinely.
Hell yeah. Now, the most important part of Hive Mind is going to be that people will enjoy being there, that the expectation isn't set too high, but that people will get that casual quality out of it, and that people will maybe get some new skills out of it. What if you are ever like interested in doing lights or visuals and all that stuff, come over. I don't set the bar high. Try yourself out, see what works, see what doesn't, see how the reaction is, maybe get some feedback. But just make something happen, and then we'll see how it goes. Like I want to keep this one a lot more lax about it. And this place won't be able to do that because people already have that high expectation, and it's cool once you got the ball rolling to keep it going this way. But I miss the more lax thing, the more, close up kind of deal, and that's where we'll go. So it's not gonna have to be high numbers. I'm gonna be happy if a couple people show up and the vibe is good. And I think that's a bar I'll be able to reach. We'll be able to reach.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. And there's a couple of questions I don't think I asked you the first time, but I'll ask you before we start closing up. First of which is the name you use in VRChat. Where'd you get it, and why do you still use it?
Oh, you want the full version?
Yes.
Oh shit!
Let's go.
I'm not sure. I don't know how long these tangents go when I start them, but I'll try to keep it.
Oh no! I was talking about his yes. I was going with his yes, because he can't give you. Anytime you ask him something, he recalls back. He goes yes. No matter which situation, it's always yes. He's a yes man, not a no man. So yeah.
I warned you. Okay, this might actually be shorter than I'm anticipating it to be. Whatever. I've been asked this a few times, and I think I can try to give a decent answer to this. So, my name is Merlz. My artist name is Merlz. You can see it on here as well. That's just what I am, who I am, and it stems from my real life first name, which is Merlin. Yeah, no, really. That is my actual first name. I was on a Discord call with a friend sometime, and I was like talking about the concept of nicknames and how I don't think I could ever really have a good one, because the idea of a nickname is to have something to shorten like a long name that's not easy to say, and also have something more unique so it's easier to identify a person. And with Merlin, it's like, that name is unique as hell. Who the fuck's called Merlin anyway? And on top of that, it's a pretty short name already, so I think I'm just gonna. I don't think I'll ever have a nickname like that. And then he just like went, "I'm gonna call you Merlz now. You're Merlz." Like you can't just put a Z on there. Just like, no, you're Merlz. I'm like, okay, whatever. I guess I'm Merlz now. And then it sticked around, and it actually became like an artist name for a project that was called, how to say this? Initially, it didn't have a name. I was friends with somebody back in the day. Like that was pretty much my best friend for a while. In the end, for about, I think, almost 10 years. But that was my best friend at the time, and he suddenly dragged me into a Skype group. Remember Skype? And he's like, dude, you should join us. We're doing a music production session. We're doing 1 hour challenges of the most stupid, silly music production ever, and like whoever makes the funnier shit wins. And it's like musical shit posting. This was like 2014, right in the MLG meow, meow, meow type era, you know, air horns going off. And so we were playing straight into that. And we just kept doing these like 1 hour productions that were super silly. And we ended up with a little cloud storage folder of these productions. And at some point we're like, damn, at this point we almost produced an entire album. That's so wild. What if we released it? What if we put it on Spotify? Oh no way. And so we did that. And it was, oh god, it was god awful, but on purpose. And that album would end up having the name X Killor with a 0 instead of an O or E. X Killor Swag Beats. Swag Beats with an E. So it's like haha funny, haha, you know, whatever. Shitposty type name. And because we had so much fun getting that release out, and like we had 1 or 2 songs that actually sort of resonated with some people because it was so shitposty and funny, we ended up going like, what do you mean we're done now? Let's go for another one. And then we just like made another album happen within the span of like a year or 1.5 or something. Some stuff happened, so we took a bit longer, but yeah, we ended up doing those challenges or 1 hour challenges again, and like stupid shitposty music. And by that point, we kept calling it some different stuff. This one was called X Killer Titanic's Undergo, which is just like a stupid name. Like the cover art was like the Titanic that was sinking, and like drawn by one of our friends. And we had a lot of fun like creating this whole like label persona behind it, and actually like putting it up on YouTube with these like previews and little announcement trailers and all that stuff, and actually getting like friends of friends excited for the new shitposty album. And at some point we started calling this whole Operation X Killer Records. And that's where the XK is coming from. XK Merlz. That is my username in here, and that's where it is most like in most places, because the name Merlz for some reason is taken like almost everywhere. So XK Merlz it is pretty much everywhere, and I guess y'all just have to deal with it. I've had a whole lot of fun people coming at me like at some point like, hey, Merlz, X Merlz, XK. Like I had so many people say it the wrong way. I'm not gonna lie, I think it's funny. I'm gonna let him suffer. It's funny every time. I'm not sorry at all, actually. Keep doing it. I'm having the time of my life here. And most people just don't know the lore behind that, so the XK just doesn't make sense, or they think it's part of the name. It's like yeah. What had to happen over time, because let's say, considering some of those meme productions, I like they are coming from like 2014, 2016. They didn't age well. At some point, I started feeling a bit embarrassed over some of the lyrics we wrote and over some stuff. And there was this one moment where somebody in our scene had a moment where they discovered that music. Somebody that was like unrelated to me that I didn't even tell about it. Clyde Machine, shout out to you. I see you, you silly sheepy. And that was like I already had it on my mind, but that was the one where I was like, oh no, people from the VR scene are starting to find the old stuff. Oh no. And that's when I had a bit of a panic reaction. And I thought about it for a bit. It was like a couple weeks where I let it sit in my head. And at some point I messaged those other 2 friends, hey guys, I want to take down my music. It's just not working out anymore. I considering that it's like findable under the new name, like or under my name, which sadly also was Merlz. It was like, I'm not sure about this. I do not feel good about like some of the stuff we were doing. And yeah, it's all historical context and whatnot, but like I do not feel good about this. I'm a person that likes that likes to react like this, and I know like I admire the people that have the strength to not hide some of their past, but I'm one of those people that like sometimes does that. Like a things that age well. And that's kind of where that friend circle broke apart, unfortunately. One of the 2, the one like sort of like best friend that I mentioned earlier, has ever since not really talked to me anymore. Like that was just really awkward. Blood. He didn't like write me like text the group chat much longer, and like I tried to reach out or like be active in that group chat a few times, and then nothing came back. And over like a few months later, I'm like, hey, like why is our mutual friend not responding anymore? And he's like, yeah, well, you only now notice. He's pretty pissed off at you. I'm like, oh, and that was during the time where I like, got into the VRrave space, and I found a whole lot of new friends, and they already felt like, because we were this friend group of 3 people, and we would always do stuff together. It wasn't like this extended friend circle. This is like kind of us, and they started feeling neglected. I was like, but look, I'm trying to like keep the balance in between us here. I have these many new friends and cool new things to do, and you guys, which I also love, but like balance. And yeah, but one of the two, unfortunately, it was just kind of too late, and I tried reaching out a few more times, but I've never been able to rebuild that bridge, and at some point I just kind of gave up, and I wonder what they're doing nowadays. I hope they are all right. Like honestly, from the bottom of my heart, genuinely hope they're good. But I guess there's just I guess something must have happened. Something just really didn't sit well with them. Me not having as much time anymore, and removing that past. Not entirely anyway. It's still archived, and the people that really want to know where it is, like they can find it if they really want to. But I just didn't want to push it anymore and have it on streaming services and this and that. And that's just like an unfortunate situation that happened. But to this day, I still feel like an odd connection to that time, because it also like shaped a lot on like who I am nowadays. And so I never felt like removing that little prefix of XK, and so it just stands there as a little piece of appreciation. Let's say that.
Okay. Well, thank you for explaining that. And last question: the avatar that you're in, why do you choose it? Why do you still use it? And is there anything about it that means anything to you? The name, obviously.
Oh yeah. So. Oh, the avatar. Oh, you mean this? You mean the avatar that I'm using, right?
Yeah. Your main avatar.
Okay, yeah. This is my this is my main avatar. Meaning this is like the one that I always not always use, but that I use for the most part and that I most identify with. That I mostly use in like promotional material and whatnot, and for DJ gigs. And I have a few different versions or like a few different avatars that have this similar look. Actually, like let me pull out an example here. This, for example, is a Rusk base. This means it's like. It follows the same design principle, but it's a silly little gremlin, I like it. Look at him go.
He's adorable.
Right? This is when I like feel comfy in VR, and I just wanna hang out with people and feel like a little gremlin. It's funny. And I also have this one, which I mostly use in desktop for the similar gremlin purposes. It looks so tongue in cheek. Like you just can't trust him, and he's like this is a Mama Hinata.
Oh.
It's like this is a chibi version, It's like look at it. This looks like I mean obviously this looks very young, like kind of baby-esque, but like in a way it just looks really funny when this guy shows up in desktop mode with no motion, just looks at you and just like cracks the most silly dad joke ever. And it's just a menace to people in a soft way. So I love being in this avatar. This is like the same design principle, same color, same everything. You recognize it's Merlz, but it's a different avatar. That being explained, those are popular avatar bases that exist. And the one that I use for my main is not so popular. This is a VRite avatar, which VRite Studio being a program that you can create avatars in. And, instead of going into like Blender and using the base model, like the other ones that I just shown, this one, you export it out of VRite Studio, and then you just throw it on the platform and you go. But you can also customize it later down the line. And the way this happened is somebody made a base model out of VRite, basically. And one of my friends ended up, because I didn't know how this, like I was using public avatars, and one of my friends was like, oh, I'm getting into avatar creation. I'm trying to use this as an exercise. What is it that you're looking for? And then I sent him like a picture or two of me IRL. I'm like, oh yeah, so this is kind of what I look like. Would be cool to find something similar. I don't like the 5-meter triangle-shaped 8-pack e-boy kind of guys that look like they're compensating for something. I'm not my kind of vibe. I like it when it's more like a just a chill guy, just a silly little guy like this one, kind of looks like he's in his like I assume early 20s or something. Kind of like that, just a silly little, not too overly blown up bear guy, the little bear dude. And I explained this, but that didn't work out right away. So initially, my avatar would look like this. This would be like, this would already have like a different hoodie, but not different pants. So this is like short pants over here because we did find some good ones. I think it's it's medium rated, but the expressions weren't fleshed out. It still has cat ears. Have you ever seen me with cat ears? Not sure if you can even see that all that well in here. But yeah, this one's like just not refined at all. It's just rough around the corners, left and right. Over time, we actually managed to find some good pants as well. That's what happened, I guess. But it was much more of a custom job effort because having a Vivoid base, like that's just kind of like it has some different proportions and whatnot. It's not as easy as taking one of the popular base models and slapping on the clothes and whatnot. So this one was always just more effort to deal with, and I didn't know anything about it. So I just had a couple of friends of mine get like I would send around the files and be like, hey, like one of my friends would help me here, another one of my friends would help me here, and then one of them at some point had a really cool like breakthrough moment and just like came up with the version that I have nowadays. One of my friends would point me towards good looking bear ears. I would send that to the new avatar creator, who then polished it up. The hair looks so much better. I now have the certified bear ears, which I'm so happy I finally have. I now have this dark mode version, which initially was just an option, but has kind of become the main thing. Here we go. This is the initial, remember that? That's the initial outfit, the light mode. At some point, I added some glasses. Shout out to Kima, who found them for me and helped me put them on. I call those the Honey Vision Pro. Everything's looking so tasty now. And so this is kind of where it went. And the cool thing about it is that it's like fairly unique, because it's like, yeah, it came out of VRChat Studio, but it had a bunch of custom stuff done to it. So it doesn't look like your average VRChat model. Like you can still see it by the shape of the face and stuff. But I feel like whenever you like look at pictures, like at group photos and whatnot, or like in post, this avatar is easy to spot because it just doesn't look much like many others. And I'm really happy that over time it like kind of turned into this. It's medium rated as well, so like it feels like so natural to me. It was just, I'm not sure what my friend did to find this specific base, but it just fits me. It's just the right energy, kind of, just the right look. It just communicates the way like I feel, because an avatar is an expression of yourself. And this is just this like relaxed kind of bear looking dude. I like it. It really fits me. I feel like, and I don't think I'll ever switch out of this, like be my main avatar. I'll probably try some more avatar stuff like I did with the Rusk and the Maminada that I showed earlier, where I will like make different versions of it. So it's like, oh, this is Merlz, but now it's a different avatar base, and like it looks a bit funny. I can switch between them a little bit. I do like being in the Rusk a whole lot sometimes, like depending on what my mood is. But this will forever be my main. Like nothing's gonna change that. This is me.
Well, thank you for explaining that. I'm glad we got a bit of lore behind your name and your avatar. So thank you very much. It's greatly appreciated.
Yeah.
And thank you for your time, by the way. It is amazing to hear what you've been up to and a lot of the bits of lore and cool things you've been doing. So thank you. It's been great.
Thanks for having me. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you being here.
Indeed. So if the audience wishes to reach out and find you, where should they go to find you, or Subsystem?
Okay, so pretty much on all the bird-like socials is where we are represented. Instagram, sort of reluctantly, but we're also there, and on Discord. You can find the links to those on, like to me, for example, on vrc.dj/Merlz. And Subsystem, you will find on vrc.to/subsystem. Same with Hive Mind, it's on vrc.to/HiveMind. That's a little link tree like page that I cobbled together, so you'll always find up-to-date social links on there. And it's Yeah, that's where you find me. And also, I want to take the time real quick and give a little like a final shout out to like the subsystem team, because many people often like, or at least I realized that some people think like, oh, Merlz, yeah, the owner of subsystem, or like, oh, subsystem, yeah, that's Merlz's place. Yeah, he runs it, and I also run it, right? But I want to make clear that this is a team effort, that there's a lot of this going into, and I want to give a warm shout out, first of all, to Sai, because he's the actual owner, as we like to call it, the subsystem shadow government, because he doesn't actually show up all that much, especially ever since he started working for VRChat. He's just been a busy little guy, which is very understandable. So he gives some creative direction every once in a while, but he's still around. He's a great mind. He really brings the project forward still to this day, despite not being much like as front facing anymore. Luke, like I mentioned earlier in the interview, who's basically running all the stream and tech in the background, make sure everything's working all right. Passy, who has been an amazing host over these years. The World team, Alice and Allstacks, who have been absolutely killing it recently with, as I said, like, just look around, it looks so beautiful. The VFX team, specifically our newcomers, Jeff, Spurk, and Saya, I see you. You're still fairly new, but you've been doing absolutely great. And also the few older ones like Penny and G-Pod, who have been doing amazing work ever since. They are responsible for the visuals on screen over here, as well as at server room, and damn, do they make it look good. There's a lot of effort going into it that you don't usually even recognize there. On the art and communications team, we've got our lovely photographers like Newsphere and Rose, who joined on the same day that I did. Lovely people. And our videographer, for example, Quinn, our social media person, Spades, who together make sure that you get to see some really cool camera angles and some really cool like videography from the place. If you've ever seen it on any of the bird-like socials, that's their work, and they're killing it in that regard. And in the graphic department also, we've got Digital Azure, who is probably the most passionate TV channel person I've ever seen. It's amazing. Like, you can ask him about any TV channel and he'll probably go like, oh yeah, that one, I know it. They have these channel bumpers and stuff, and he's so cracked at like graphic design and motion graphics and all. He's the one responsible for a bunch of videos and all the posters, and they're looking amazing. Shout out to you, Digi. We've got you good?
Oh, he's talking to his dog.
Oh, I'm good. I'm talking to dogs. Oh. They think they need out about the time I don't need them to go out, and they howl and whine and sit there and go. It's a morning routine. No matter where you go, dogs got to go to the can just like we do.
On that note, shout out to Raptor's dog.
Dogs. I got 2 of them.
Dogs. Damn. Dogs.
What up, dog?
What up, dog? Right? Yeah.
and yeah, we've got like let me finish this. Okay, we've got LDs, so the people that do the lights. We've got DMX, who's been rather inactive this year because life has been getting up to him, but who, especially in the earlier days, has carried every single edition with doing the light shows. Without him, we wouldn't be where we were, because who would have done them? Right, nobody. And Sky and Marco, who've been joining. Well, Sky has initially joined the host team and done good there too. But Marco and Sky have both been absolutely excelling in the lighting department. They've been killing it. F. Paul, who has really shaped the way we operate our lights, and always has some like good inputs on our team. Our lovely hosts, the new ones first, like Kima just joined, and Kex, who doesn't have as much time as he'd like to, but I still see you, and every time he's here, he does his job really well. Kampfmucker, who's been on for a hot minute, absolutely killing it in the hosting and security department, making sure our events run safe and well. We've got oh god, off the top of my head, who's it? Oh yeah, photography, Behold. I almost forgot him, but no, Behold, love you, absolutely killing it in the photography department there as well. And I think that's about it. Yeah, we've got quite a crack team. If I forgot anybody off the top of my head now, I'm so sorry. But it's been nothing but amazing what we've been pulling off. And all these people, I want to say, all these people are responsible to make this happen on the regular. So shout out to this team effort. I know I'm more of a front-facing person, but I am not here to take the credit for it. Keep that in mind. And big shout outs to you. I love y'all over at the Subsystem team. You've been killing it so hard.
Oh, well, thank you very much, guys, for doing what you do, and thank you for coming on and letting us catch up with you as well. So it's been absolutely amazing.
Yes.
Thank
very
you.
much
Thanks
so.
for having me. It was great.
No problem. It is our pleasure. And everything he's mentioned for links and places will be right down below in the Hoobly What's a Thingamabobble. As always, if you go down past the video or in Spotify, the Spotify notes version of this episode, you'll have all the links to find out where he goes for the timeline and to find HARDERBOX and Subsystem, and all of that will be right down below, as well as the world link will be in the description for the world we're in, which is HARDERBOX. So Subsystem, everything will be right here for you to find in one easy, simple place. And then this is the part we then will close up. But before we give you the closing question, I actually would like to do a bit of a self-promo here as well. There've been a lot of names that he's mentioned during this show. And if you're anything like Raptor Eye, you'll see names or see logos like, what's this? What's that? I want to know more. We can actually help you a little bit. So there are some of these communities that we've actually chatted with, like, for example, 2TD and Kai from over at Shelter. We've talked with them. So you can go back and get to meet them actually in a video right here. And then over, I think there's only one person we've talked with over from Muzz's community, and that's Silent. And we have an episode with Silent over there if you wish to get to know a bit about what's going on in that section of it. Quinn, we actually talked with Quinster as well a long time, or not last year, beginning this year. I don't know. I've done so many, I lose track sometimes. But there's we have a little bit of homework for you to do. If you kind of scroll up through our stuff, you can find more about the communities that Merlz here mentioned. So feel free to give them all a look and a check. There's a whole lot to VRChat than you think. And when you think you've seen it all, you're wrong. I promise you, you're very, very wrong.
Oh, God, yeah.
But
This place is huge.
Oh, yeah. No, I remember when Raptor and I first got in interviews, I thought 3 or 4 months, we're going to be done. We can move on. No. God, no. I was very wrong in that sentiment.
Good luck. Good luck.
Oh, yeah.
No, this place is amazing. You'll see so much. I wish you good luck. I'll see you again in 3 years when you're like, I haven't even done 10% of the people I want to do.
What makes it a lot harder, shout out to VRChat and the VRChat team, what makes it hard to try and reach the bottom of the barrel of people to talk to is VRChat's on some 45-degree angle upwards trajectory of people joining. It's so unique in the video game. If you're into statistics, I had someone I know, Down Lyric, actually sit down and go through video game statistics. VRChat's a weird anomaly in video games where over time, video games usually have a downward trajectory or they lose people, but VRChat's a 45-degree angle up. It's no stopping it whatsoever. Thank you guys for creating a great game, but dear Lord, we're never going to be able to retire at this rate. But anyway, with that said, the question for you, the audience, as always, before we pass it over to Raptor, what is some of the best ways you as a person can connect and reach out to people? We'd like to know. For me as a person, I'm similar to Merlz. I do a lot better either communicating through doing stuff with or for people. That's just where I am as a person, and I'm the same as Merlz in that perspective. And I'd like to see how you guys do it.
Hell yeah.
I love to read all of your answers, and I hang out in the comment section sometimes, or most of the time. So feel free to write that. We'd always love to read it, as always. And Raptor, you know the thing.
You got it, Line. No matter where you are and how hard you work, and you get to the point where you want to be, sooner or later, they say, hey, it's a hard box, but at the bottom of it might be a box of cookies. Just make sure you bring one to Merlz. He might even ask you what kind you like. We'll talk to you later. Have a good one, folks, and enjoy the hard box. We'll talk to you later. Bye.